despite a seemingly healthy economy, the deficit's growing. It's now 36 trillion. We're borrowing nearly $2 trillion a year just to pay our expenses. As a result of that, we're going to be paying, interest will be the largest item in our budget very soon because we're borrowing money to pay our expenses, which no one would do. But we've gotten in the habit of that. And I do think with the witnesses that it's time for us to deal with that. I do want to say about Medicare and Social Security, it's not constructive to say, don't touch it. That's what I hear from people over here. This is a dying patient. This is a patient in the hospital bed. And if we don't touch it, it dies. So we have to do something about it. I'm inclined to agree with Ms. Schakowsky that we should raise revenues. I would say also, it doesn't seem to be something that we've done here. I've been here 12 years now, and it seems like we can't do that by ourselves as Democrats. There's not a consensus on how to do that. And we're gonna have to work across the aisle to get this and the other issues that we've raised hammered out. I also just say this is on both parties. We've had conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq that weren't paid for. President Bush made tax cuts that weren't paid for. President Obama extended those tax cuts. We had tax cuts under President Trump. We had a lot of COVID relief programs that were vital but expensive. And on top of our annual borrowing, we've added more than $10 trillion to the debt. Going forward, I have to say I don't like to hear this sort of sanguine idea that extending the tax cuts is somehow cost-free. It's not. It's a $4 trillion thing because current law assumes that they end. And current laws assume that they end and then the rates go back up. And that's how we determine the level of the deficit. So if you extend them out, you're changing current law to add more deficit. I think that's right, isn't that right, Dr. Elmendorf?
Yes, exactly, Congressman.
The other thing is I hear from my colleagues too that, boy, we get so much revenue even after the tax cuts. But of course, if we had not cut the taxes, we would have had even more revenue. Isn't that true, Dr. Elmendorf?
Yes, that's right, Congressman.
And do you have an estimate of the amount of money that was?
I don't know.
Well, I imagine it was in the trillions of dollars. So I just think let's get away from this playland where we think that that the best things in life are free. These tax cuts, which I understand there's going to be a tremendous amount of political pressure on my colleagues to extend, and even to grow, they cost a lot. And so I appreciate the constructive comments of all of you who've all acknowledged that this is not just a spending issue, it's not just an efficiency issue, and I too welcome the chance to talk about efficiency in the federal government. I think we should welcome it. I hope that the system that's set up by the president-elect is a good one, that's effective. But we're going to need revenues, and I think that should be evident to all of us. I'm a co-sponsor with of the Bipartisan Fiscal Commission Act with my friend Bill Huizenga from Michigan. We got that bill passed out of this committee, and I think it's ready to go. I think that's kind of where we need to go. And each of us, I would just say, each of us needs help to cover ourselves from our own extremes. I mean, I got people who believe on the other side of the aisle that maybe we could just cut taxes forever and we'll just be just fine and still fight back on China. That's not going to happen. I got people on my side of the aisle who think, you never have to make a spending cut to deal with this. And I know that's not going to happen either, but unless we get together in the same room and are bound by facts, I don't think it's going to happen. And finally, I would just say, I have never before considered a balanced budget amendment. And I have to say that some of your comments have made me think about whether that might be helpful and to not think about, we sort of get a very abbreviated conversation about that here. We're going to balance the budget right away. I know that's not productive. But I like the idea of what Switzerland did. I think something like that has a lot of flexibility, but discipline makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to consider something like that going forward. But at least I think a commission makes sense. This committee thinks a commission makes sense, and I think a lot of us are willing to get at it. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Well, I certainly associate myself with his remarks on the Fiscal Commission, and I appreciate his leadership on that, and I hope that we can do something tangible, meaningful, statutorily this year. I should say, next Congress. With that, we now ask Glenn Groth